Hello, everyone. I think everybody can hear me. I'm going to check on my phone to see if I can see it. Yep. Yeah. We're live. Hi, how are you? I'm listening for the sound of my own voice. All right, here we are. Okay. Hello, everyone. Um, this was scheduled for 1 o'clock, and I think it's working out well. So, what I'm going to do here is I have chat up here now, so that's going to be helpful. Um, Running on Starlink. That's good. I apologize for the camera. Sometimes when you stop, it just kind of doesn't work. Let me see if I just move and then move forward again. That clears it right up usually. Anyway, welcome, and I'm going to get a link to this here. There it is. And see if I can put this on Facebook so people know I'm here. Let's see, back, share, copy link here to Facebook. Stream. Exclamation point. And then paste. Enter. And hit next. And hit post. Okay. I think that's been advertised. I'm going to go back to YouTube. And then we want to go here. Okay. I'm looking for my chat. I've already lost it. I apologize, but this is all new to me. So let's see here. That's not it. Let's see. I can hear myself. I think that's good. Might turn the volume up a little bit. Maybe to there. How's that? There we go. That might be a little better. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Where is that chat? Live chat. There it is. Here it is. Okay. Welcome. How are you guys doing? So, as you know, we're under a tornado watch in southwest Missouri. My current position is in Miami, Oklahoma. This has been a hard one to try to figure out. There are a lot of, as you can see on radar, there's a lot of activity. There's a lot of little tiny Boeing segments. In this type of situation, the best play for a storm chaser is to try to find an isolated cell. The worst scenario, probably for everybody in the watch area, are the isolated cells. So, they just have a better chance of developing into a discrete supercell that could produce a tornado. The overall parameters, the wind fields, exceptional for tornadoes. Really, really good. Under that condition, it doesn't have to be sunny and particularly crazy unstable. It just has to be enough to support thunderstorms, and certainly they're out there, so we know that's true. There's an upper level system approaching us from Oklahoma. It's pretty tight, pretty deep. There's a low pressure center connected with that. That's been altering the surface winds, and so that now they're coming out of the southeast pretty nicely across Arkansas and across eastern Oklahoma and now southwestern Missouri. So we did have that one tornado warning up around Camdenton. That's moved up into central Missouri now. I've been traveling, so I have no idea if that verified a tornado or not. We'll find out here in a minute. If someone in the chat knows, you can tell me. Um, but so we had that isolated event, but the main line is still what you see on radar right there. that's coming at it. So I'm in Miami, so you see that severe thunderstorm warning polygon? It's basically pointing at where I'm sitting for all practical purposes. Not quite. I'm a little west of it. But it's those isolated cells that I'll be watching for as we continue on. So, a couple of other pieces of news. Well, let's show you some data real quick before I start traveling. Let's turn on the let's see. We'll turn on the mesoscale analysis page, and this is showing you instability. So what you're seeing there is 2,000 capes in those circles around Fort Smith, just south of Fort Smith. And in the intersection there of Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, there's 2 bullseyes. There's definitely a frontal boundary connected to a developing low that runs from my current position in Miami, just kind of southwest of Joplin in Oklahoma there, and runs up to central Missouri. That I thought might be a focusing mechanism for showers and storms as they travel along that boundary. So that's why I'm kind of sitting where I'm at. And also the short range, high resolution models were kind of hinting at something forming, around Joplin, around Lamar, and then traveling, north, northeast, kind of northeast. Again, that's all model data. So you look at all that, and then you get out here and you're like, okay, here's what's really going on, basically. So you're basically at this stage, we're at the radar watching stage. We're almost done looking at the parameters because at some point that doesn't matter much anymore, and at some point the radar doesn't matter much anymore. You're just looking. But let's take a look at a few more fields before I shut this down. The significant tornado parameter is something that is just a shortcut for me. So if you look at the effective layer for that, let's see if that's actually showing up for you all on the feed. Yes, it is. So that has a bullseye, amazingly, where a tornado warning around Camdenton was just located. And another, I think that's a bullseye, but I'm not quite sure because it might be a minimum, actually. But generally, broadly from, you know, Fort Smith, northeast Oklahoma, where I'm at, southward. But that's going to get increasingly stronger as we go through the day. The heating is starting now. If you're wondering if the sun's not out, is that diminishing the severe threat? It's diminishing the instability possibilities, but it is not necessarily diminishing the severe threat or the tornado threat because again, under these conditions, you're not really requiring a whole lot to get things going. Let's take a look at one more thing I wanted to show you, and that's just simply the surface weather map. So let's take a look at that. And we'll just go with this one right here. So that surface low is just north of Oklahoma City. If you see the blues and especially the greens, that's deep moisture, dew points well into the 60s. And then you can't quite see the winds, and I think I might actually change it to this one. Now you can see the winds wrapping around that. See how they're out of the southeast or southeast as that low tracks up toward areas north of Joplin. Those winds are going to continue to pull into that low pressure center. So, and again, that's why I'm watching some of these storms, wondering if the first ones that I should be worried about are the ones that are kind of following their front northeast of the low. That's one theory we're going with. So, I am probably, by sitting in Miami, I'm probably a little too far west, to be honest. I'm probably going to backtrack a little bit, just a little bit, if for no other reason than to get out of the rain. One more thing, at home I have a drone and I will be taking drone footage, but I cannot get it to link to OBS. And I was working at home, but now that I'm on a different network, all the devices are speaking on the same network, but I tried here in this rest stop and I could not get it to work. So anyway, so when I compile this chase, I'll probably have some drone footage, you just won't see it. Anyway, so we're going to start rolling here. Turn the volume down so I don't hear myself anymore. And it's working. If you're joining the stream here, thank you very much. Appreciate it. These storms are any storm that forms today, just so you know, is potentially tornadic. But you just have to watch and see which ones have a little more foothold, are a little stronger, basically. So we're traveling now. Oh, hang on a second. Stop one more time here. And we're going to turn off the mesoscale map there. There we go. I think we're good. Okay, now we can travel. All right. So I was at a rest stop here right around Miami. Hopefully we get out there before the 18-wheelers catch me. basically just going to turn around. So we're a little too close to what I would consider the kind of the broken squall line. I'm going to try to get some more of that activity that's trying to be a little independent. Case in point, that's severe thunderstorm warning. Let's get off here. And in case you haven't traveled to Oklahoma in a while, and this is probably going to prove me wrong, no, it's not. All the tolls are automated now. You don't have to have dollars or change anymore. You just drive through them. And if you're aware, if you're going to Tulsa, in the past, that was, I think, $4 or $5 to go. Now you don't have to stop and pay, but it's double in price, basically. It's like $10. That's crazy. Anyway, I don't get off at the Miami exit very often. Occasionally. I was storm chasing out here last year, as a matter of fact. By the way, I think I fixed a lot of my streaming issues. There's some things on the channel. If you're bored one day, you can go look at my tests where I was playing around with latency and keyframes and all the fun stuff that you played with when you're trying to get a stream to work. And it finally did get it to work. So that was an interesting experiment. I'm very excited about my drone and disappointed that you won't be seeing it live. I played with it for about 20 minutes, and that's about all the time I could spare. I have every confidence I will figure it out. To be honest, when I got it figured out at home, I was just trying things. I use Mona server on my laptop, and worked at home. And I was typing in directories and just kind of guessing at what I needed to do, and it finally worked. So I'm not surprised that this is not working, because when you don't actually understand how you got something to work, you don't have a whole lot of chance of fixing the problem. So anyway, let's go back here, go back on 44 and go back to the northeast. Yeah, the feed seems to be working better. In fact, it's supporting both my camera, cabin cam, me, and and uh, and the stream. So, and the radar. All that's good. Go back to Joplin. If you've been watching the development of this day, the original outlooks from a while back had Springfield and the Ozarks at the starting point of the severe weather, which has been so often the case this spring. And then yesterday there was a radical departure from that, as this upper level system, this low that I showed you in Oklahoma just a second ago, finally came into better resolution. So they quickly changed that and backed it up. And that, if you look on my Facebook page, or on live video I made this morning that's on YouTube, you'll see that enhanced risk is pretty much bullseye right on Southwest Missouri. Couldn't do it better in Detroit. Radical change. That's why I kind of went through the emphasis of letting people know. Sometimes, and I've noticed this in many years of dealing with weather forecasting, that people will read something from a couple of days ago and consider it to be 100% gold, that it's always going to be that way. And of course, weather forecasts evolve and change. And what makes it worse is that platforms like Facebook um, don't are not, they don't really have any sense of time. So I see things posted by weather folks that are like sometimes 5 days old. I'm like, oh God, please don't take that as the truth right now. So just whenever you read something that I do, uh, just please check the timestamp on it. Make sure you're still accurate. Okay, so we're going back up I-44. The idea here is we're going to check out that severe thunderstorm morning and see if that cell means anything. And we've also got a line of storms heading up toward my current position from the southwest. Now, it's not very discreet, but the tail end of that could be. So we're going to go up the road just a little bit. We're not going to go very far. We're just trying to get our bearings once again. If you're wondering what my setup is, there are videos that you can watch that I've done. I basically have I have a convertible laptop that I can make into a tablet. That's what's running the OBS streaming service. It's also what's running my SPC page and the radar. So everything that feeds into the OBS stream, everything you see right now is being fed from that device. And above that, I have mounted a tablet that is showing using Google Maps to show my current position, and it's also showing another radar product that actually shows my current position relative to the radar, which is always very helpful. So yeah, it looks like the storms down to my southwest are kind of congealing a little bit. There's a little bit of convergence kind of running into each other. I'm thinking that the southern end of that line is something that'll probably be trouble here in a minute. So I'm probably going to go up, not quite to Joplin, but close, and see what happens with that developing storm. In the area I'm talking about, you see the severe thunderstorm warning that's on the radar map. So just follow your nose up toward where that's going, and that's what I'm looking at. And you see that really intense area of red. That's a small line that's getting ready to kind of interact with that independent cell, and I think that might actually become something more significant. There's a tornado watch in effect. I think most of you are probably aware of that. That was a guarantee today. I noticed the stream is stopping occasionally. So my dropout rate is higher than I wanted, 36%. I was getting it down around 10 or 14 before, so it could have something to do with because I'm using Starlink, and it is more or less a continuous connection, but not always continuously good. So that's another matter right there. Yeah, the drop rate's a little high, but it's a lot better than when I started out. When I did my first couple of chases, it was dropping like 60 to 70% of everything. Now it's 37, 36. Still kind of high. And I'm also running a lot of things I probably don't need to run. It's taking up my bandwidth. Um, I think what I'm going to do is turn off YouTube's monitoring of my channel. I just want to make sure it's working. It's sucking endless amounts of bandwidth here. So let's stop that. There we go. That could be better. Just joining me, thank you. Live storm chase. I'm coming back up 44 from Miami, where I stopped. I knew I had to start streaming at 1, so that seemed like a good place to stop, test a few things. I have a drone. I'm very proud of it. There's two reasons to have it. Number one, just to show it on the live stream, and unfortunately, that connection did not work. So it's just, there's that. Actually, three reasons. The second reason is just a different vantage point from seeing things. The third reason is if you're in an area where there are low trees and hills, you can't quite see the horizon. Honestly, the simplest thing to do is just launch the drone straight up. You don't have to go very far up, usually, to get a pretty clear sight. So, three reasons to get a drone. Drones don't like to get really wet, so you got to use it with caution. Right now, I've only had it for about 4 days, and so I am not going to. It's going to drop right now. That's a little better. Not great. I'm pretty much only going to go straight up and come straight down. I know there are ways of setting home. I have not explored any of that yet. Literally, there's just been a lot going on, so it's the season is young, so I'll get to use it for other things too. And if you're wondering, yes, I'm going by myself. I do have occasionally people to go with me. I think that most of the time, I think that when people think about it, they really have to have a lot of free time because you've got your Saturday and Sunday, which are more so precious to everybody, and I'm asking you to disappear for like 8 hours with no guarantee of seeing a tornado. Um, I think some people, when you think about that, I'll catch you on the next one. You want to experience it once, but they may not come back. And it may or may not be true. I think a lot of folks though would, but they just have everything's going on. There's a lot of pressure on a weekend, especially too, to get things done like around the house. So, oh, and by the way, happy Easter. Now, one thing that you want to do when you're chasing, and that's why I have in my vehicle here, I have drop brakeman down a little bit on the frames. In my vehicle here, I have potentially three different radars that I'm running, and it's really a good situational awareness thing to be able to say you can do that. I many times one thing that I don't watch is I get so focused on an idea or on a storm that I forget to expand and look at other things that are going on. Um, you might miss something, or it might sneak up on you. You don't realize it. So that's why I like to have multiple radars running because that way I can just, if you notice, I look over to the right a lot more than I need to. But, you know, just situational awareness is very, very important. It's just after 1:20 in the afternoon now. So even though the sun's not out here, there is brightness, so there is warmth. It is getting through the cloud. It's not the same as sunlight. Also, remember I showed you that map, south southeast winds. So down in eastern Oklahoma and western Arkansas, it has been a lot sunnier out there. And as you saw the instability and those 2,000 Cape bullseyes down there, well, that gets moved or affected by the wind into these areas. So it doesn't necessarily have to generate right where you think it needs to. It can come from another source. So yeah, we got a pretty solid line of storms that is running. Well, it's running almost north-south, back behind me on I-44 there. So I'm wondering if the tail end of that might interact with one of those independent storms and tail end Charlie, as they say, and see if we can do something. I'm rapidly approaching the Missouri border here, so probably take another break and see what's going on. As I mentioned before, I have Starlink, and it works pretty well. I did find out, though, if the rain is heavy enough, it will not function. So there is attenuation. There is some rain phase, but it had to be raining pretty darn heavy. Some other things I forgot about was getting gas, and I couldn't figure out why my Starlink stopped. Well, I was underneath the canopy. Duh. Uh, so I didn't correct that. The other thing about Starlink is that it's the only thing in this vehicle that it doesn't have battery backup. So if I ever have to stop for any reason, bathroom break, whatever, uh, and turn the vehicle off, everything else will run except for Starlink. So I got myself an Anker battery pack. I've tested it on the way out today because I really wanted to plug into the AC outlet. I really wanted to be able to ensure that I could stream. I got down to about 30% on battery storage. I started it at 950 and we ended at about, well, I made notes. I think it was like 12:15. So almost 2.5 hours, and I used 70% of my battery. So it probably would go 3+ hours before dying. So if I ever had to rely exclusively on my battery to power Starlink, I'd have to start the stream knowing that I only had that amount of time. Or you could just not stop. You can certainly avoid that. Another thing you do is hook your power source. And I had an old vehicle. I had this done to it once. I had a minivan, and I hooked the power out right off of the cable, right off the battery terminal, and under the firewall of the vehicle, drilled a hole and brought those terminal cables up to the front seat. So that way you're drawing off that battery even if the car is shut off. That would be an ideal situation, but that would be a lot of work, and I don't know if most people want to do that with a vehicle or not. I didn't care about that vehicle. This one's a great vehicle, but it's old too, so I'm not sure how much I care about it either. I could also get a bigger backup. This is I forgot the specs on it, but if you're just using it to charge cell phones and stuff, it's a killer. The Starlink will draw roughly about 30 to 35 watts of power. Raining here. I can see downstream. It's always a sign you're getting close to Missouri. Storms getting very numerous. There's a real tendency for lines of storms to develop. Now, I think that this is going to be a mixed mode. What that means is I think there are going to be lines of storms, and they can produce tornadoes too. So beware of that. Not just the isolated storms in this situation. But for a storm chaser, it's easier to find the isolated ones. It's easier to crack them. It's easier to see around them. Typically, in a line, it's a high precipitation event, or at least there's precipitation falling behind that type of tornado. So your contrast is awful. So the chances you're going to see it very, very, very low. And as you may know, I don't take a lot of chances. I don't drive an armored vehicle, so you're not going to see me get that close. And really, and I've said this before, when you storm chase and you're looking for tornadoes, even if you're really close, the odds are a lot of times that it's going to be rain wrapped very, very, very hard to see. In fact, when I think back on my chasing, I have probably seen tornadoes and not realized what I was looking at that distance. But I mean, and I've gotten spoiled on a couple of storm chases where it was just picturesque. I mean, the tornadoes were just graceful, mile or two away, very stunning, photogenic tornado. I'd say, I don't know what the percentage is, but a lot of them are just harder to get. And unless you're willing to get in there and you can do that safely, you're simply not ever going to see the actual. Maybe even not even then. So, all that to say that the isolated cells have better backlight sometimes because they're not high precipitation. They don't have to be high precipitation. But yeah, nothing more frustrating than a chase where you have such poor contrast that even in a situation where the tornado is actually itself not surrounded by rain, the backdrop is just so horrible that it's barely visible. You know, just joining the stream. Thank you. Um, this will be going on for hours, so and it will be available to watch later. Drop rate's 35%. I wish that were a lot better. Probably won't play with anything here on this chase. We'll do some more test runs later. Now at the Joplin exits here. don't know where I'm at, I'm traveling east on 44. I guess this would be considered the first Joplin exit. Not the first exit, that's downstream, but the first Joplin exit, I guess. Yeah. It's getting a little windier. That semi, can't tell if he was just distracted, falling asleep, or hitting the wind, or a combination of all three. This stretch of I-44 has a lot of semis. I used to drive back and forth to Joplin a lot from Springfield, and it gets kind of boring. It gets to the point where I know how to get to every exit down to the second. And I counted a couple of times how many semis coming from the opposite direction there were, and I would get anything from the upper 300s to the lower 400s. So, 70 minutes it takes, 75 minutes to drive from Springfield to Joplin. I saw on average about 400 semis coming in. Had to have 18 wheels. I didn't count anything else. I think I did count the double ones that are ones being towed. So I'm gonna stop up here in a second. And one good reason to do that is I'm gonna change my radar perspective. It's just you're driving solo. You really shouldn't be thinking with anything like that. It's just dangerous. So stopping up here. Rangeline Road, maybe. Oh, there's that condo right there. I like to stop at that one. I was complaining about this on the last stream. So they're repairing the bridge here. I'm not sure what highway this is, where Mercy Hospital is, um, which is great. But when you get off to go to the come and go, that's great. And when you want to get back onto the highway to go continue going west on 44, they've they've blocked the lane. And I looked again today. This is several weeks ago. I ran into this. I looked again today, and I can't see a physical reason why they have blocked you. So if you go to that come and go and you want to resume your family vacation, you can't. You can't go west, and I can't see a reason why they've done that. No idea. The road's not being repaired. I've watched the entrance onto the highway. I've drove by past it. There's nothing torn up. And this has been weeks now that that's been like that. If I were those businesses, I'd be so mad. Of course, it's not that they get a lot of repeat business, probably. But still, weird. Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what the expanded radar looks like. So we'll probably pull off at Rangeline Road here. Just over a half tank of gas. This would probably be a good time to fill up. I like to do that whenever I can. Last thing I want to worry about is how much gas. I don't want to be on fumes while I'm trying to do something important. So usually when the storms are about to get going, that's when I get my gas about this time. This is actually a little early in the day for severe weather. There's so much variation. A lot of times severe weather doesn't even fire until 6 o'clock in the evening. Very typical firing time would be late afternoon. For an energetic system like this, not too unusual to get storms starting to fire at noon or early afternoon. Just glancing at the radar again, a lot of linear stuff up near where I am, but I'm seeing evidence that there's independent cells, so to speak. But I need to expand my view, and I won't do that until I get off the road. Let's see, we go to the right here, and pull into that. Oh, not sure. So I'm about to go south on Rangeline Road. Cracker Barrel right there. Is that the actual Cracker Barrel? Or is that a sign? Oh, I see. I have to go back. I remember this. I usually try to get to a parking lot if I can. I don't always have that luxury. In this case, I do. Just go to that my hotel, set up shop, and take a look at some radar and see what the next possible move is here. So I'll just parking toward the southwest. All right, let's take a look at some stuff here. So first thing I'll do is change my functional radar here. It's using Springfield, which probably isn't bad now. But yeah, I'm gonna zoom in on that here in a second. But I definitely think that that line of storms is probably going to produce a tornado, and I happen to think that the end of that, my theory that the end of that is merging with a single cell. That is happening right around Langley, Oklahoma, north of Hudal. I just love local town names. So basically, if that were to come together, it would travel just, it looks like it would be just west of where I'm at right now. So I could get to it if I had to. So, oh, let me use the other radar and show it to you here. Zoom in on that so I can show you what I'm talking about. Yeah. See that feature right there? Right around Bernice, approaching Copeland. It looks like it hook echo feature. I'm not sure that it is, but it certainly could be. Yeah, yeah. So one of the things I can do is I can. This is GR Level 2 Analyst version 3. Wonderful program. So what I'm looking at here are tops of storms split with the radar reflectivity. See that um, square right there? That helps me to center both products. So that's that little feature I'm talking about that looks like it's hooking. Let's see if the rotation is showing anything. No, it's a pretty linear out right now, and we're going to go with. It looks like it does. That's not a rotation, although I don't know. I think it could be. Let's go with storm relative velocity. And this is the Tulsa radar I have up there. So I don't see any real differential velocities going on here. So that is probably just a ghost of a hook echo. But the idea was that that individual cell is looking up at the end of that line. But there are all kinds of interesting cells here, and I think it's going to be a challenge to pick out the one that is going to actually do something. So that's going to be, and that's of course always the challenge. I mean, there's a lot of activity. It's not like there are individual cells, like 3 or 4 of them. There's an entire line, and you have to kind of go up and down the line and look for stuff. So I keep it on Enrod, and then there's a little bit of hail around Afton. Okay, so that's a storm again that is worth watching. I think as we progress, that storm right there, I think is eventually going to be one that's going to pass just west of Joplin. That might be one I end up sticking on for a while. I use my phone and I can call up another radar. And on this one, I'm going to go down to the Fort Smith radar. You can't see that in the screen, but I'm just looking to see what's going on down there. So eastern Oklahoma. There's some convection that is broken out um, southwest of Fayetteville. And it's a big area. Whether that will congeal into something severe, I think it probably will. It looks like several towers right now that eventually, I think if given enough time, will congeal into a supercell. At least that's the theory I have. Let's see. So I'm going to keep my eye on that area too. So I've got radar eyes everywhere, everywhere they need to be, pretty much. Let's see. So you should be seeing. Oops, I'll do that. There we go. You should be seeing a split radar screen. We're looking southwest. I'm sitting on South Range Line Road in Joplin, just south of I-44. So let's go back and see if we have any updates. I think I got the top of the hour update from the SPC. Let me see if I did. No, I didn't. I'll show those to you here in a minute after I look at them. This is just my way of showing you what the mesoanalysis page is showing. The top of the hour. Yeah, we've got about 1,500 to 2,000 to you in a minute. Well, actually, there's no reason I can't show it to you now. So we just do here. This map. There we go. So now I can kind of talk about and show you what I'm talking about. So that's the instability and with winds. So notice there's still a south-southeast to southeast wind flow. The center of the low appears to be just north of Tulsa. You see the swirl right there. So the winds that are feeding into that right in my position are probably the best out there. They just reissued or redid that severe thunderstorm warning for all of northeast Oklahoma now, including Miami, where I just was. I'm still looking at suspicion where the southern end of one line starts and the northern end of the other line stops. And just kind of watching that real careful. Anyway, that's the instability. The low-level helicity, the ability for low-level rotations to form is crazy, really. 300s in pockets out there. That's really really powerful for this time of day. So that and the bases these storms are so low, you know, to get a spin up, you're not necessarily going to need a big wump and traditional supercell with large hail and intuitively obvious like a lot of those are. You just need the proper combination of updraft, and that's about going to do it. Let's look at the significant tornado parameter. That's come up a little bit. It's up to a 2 now, just south of my position. But again, that's I think one way to look at that is that's advecting or moving up toward my position. So that's a look at that. All right, so we'll turn off the mesoanalysis page. So after all that, what I decide to do? Well, I think I decided to do nothing. I know that's boring, but I think I'm just going to sit here. I think my position is pretty good in Joplin, and I'm just going to kind of see what I need to be doing here. Zoom out a little bit. This is looking at the Tulsa radar. We're just going to work for probably another half hour or so, maybe longer. Then I'll switch to Springfield's radar. But you can see that panel on the right. That's the 2 severe thunderstorm warnings, and then the panel on the left is just plain old. Again, I'm still highly suspicious of that storm that is just off to the east. Well, the storm itself is on top of Afton, Oklahoma, but that area just east of there, I think. So what I'm talking about is where that red square is right there. And again, I'm counting on a lot of resolution issues at home. I'm assuming that the frames are not dropping so embarrassingly that you can actually see what I'm talking about. All work in progress. So again, if that does come to pass and becomes a circulation, the chances of me seeing it are probably pretty poor because there's a lot of rain behind that, and quite frankly, the resolution is going to be bad. So unless I'm lucky, we're probably not gonna see anything. But you never know. The storms are not exactly screaming. They're also moving a little more north than they are north than they are. They're moving a lot more north than they are east. That's for sure. But they're not even moving northeast. They're moving more north. So um, that's a factor too. Storms that deviate from that motion are interesting too. Watch those. Yeah, I'm still going to sit here because I can't. I still have a feeling that that area there, um, just off to just around the Afton area, between yeah, just and south of Miami, I think is wanting to develop something. No obvious rotation on the radar product yet. And so I probably will fly the drone as those storms get a little closer. The only problem is you won't see it. So I'm really not happy. Yeah, I see several suspicious storms anywhere they're lining up in northeast Oklahoma. I think it's just a matter of which one's gonna take over. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, I'll wait until they get a little bit closer before I send the drone up. If you're tuning in now, thank you so much. I had the live chat up, but I think it was just drawing too much um, precious bandwidth, so I dropped it down to like 33% now, drop frames, which is better. But of course, I when I was testing this, I actually got that down to around 10%, 14%. So let's see here, yeah. And I'm sitting. This is looking southwest from. This is basically on Rangeline Road, off uh, south of 44. It's close to where that Cracker Barrel is, if you know the area. So the only severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect, one of them is a cell that's kind of pointed, not exactly pointed at me, but it looks like it, if it were to hold together with some sort of rotation, it would go just east. Some of these are being identified as cells, that's for sure. Looking out, I don't see any features quite yet. If I do launch the probe, what you're going to see is just a dark sky, just a line of storms. I'm going to wait just a little while longer here. On my video this morning, there were several indications that maybe a cell that would form north of Joplin would track to around Clinton. And while I do see storms up there, they're not warned, and it's not unstable enough up there, and they wouldn't be rooted in the surface at all. So again, when you look at model data, it's only as good as sometimes it's no good. best thing you can do with model day is just look at the averages and just keep looking at it and see if you can figure out what it's trying to do. But, so at this point in Chase, there's no way I would check model day. Because you only can make certain decisions now. You can't change your mind and go to Northeast Missouri. That's just not going to happen. So you just have to stay with the person you brought to the dance. Let's see here. There could be some. I'm going to wait just a little longer before I launch that probe. Let's see here. We'll take a look at the other radar. Yeah, nothing's tightening up in an obvious way. They do have a new warning now down here. I'll zoom in on that. I don't know a lot of those towns in Oklahoma, but Colcord, Kansas, uh, that warning is basically pointed at Southwest City, Knoll, in Missouri, Sulphur Springs in Arkansas, possibly Gravette, that area. So if that ends up being something noteworthy, it wouldn't be too hard for me to go get that. Again, a lot of cells. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that this could be a mistake, but I think I'm going to head over and travel. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I'm going to go. Center. I think I'm going to go to 49 South and catch some of those storms that are looking like they're independently warned a little bit more. Again, that line that's approaching Joplin could do something. I have some time. I don't have to do that quite yet. Maybe I'll wait here just a little longer. Let's see here. Yeah. I'm going to change to Echo Tops over here. Well, yeah, see, the reason I'm thinking about that, if you look on the right map, see there, right north of Miami, that's some very high tops on that cell. So that one is the one I'm in position to chase now. So I don't know that I would necessarily leave it. I'm rethinking all that. There's also a hail symbol with that one. That's a whole triangle. So that one seems to be coming up. Yeah, maybe I might just stay here a little longer. All right. Well, I think what I'm gonna do. Try to get some drone footage. So what I'm gonna do on the stream, you might still be able to hear me, but I'm just gonna turn off me. Um, and the mic. Oh, maybe not the mic. You might still be able to hear me. I'll just be outside. All right. Well, it's getting windier here, so that was an interesting adventure. I never really have a lot of experience with drones before, so um, that's, that was interesting. Let's see. All right. Thank you. Again, I wish I could have shown that to you, but let's see here. Getting back to normal here, and turn that back on. There you go. All right, so I'm going to look at the radar. Yeah, so this entire area is under a severe thunderstorm warning now, which is not surprising at all. It's a big old line of storms. Yeah, so the challenge to me is to try to figure out if it's even possible to get anything out of a line of storms as a chaser. It's just notoriously difficult to do. Let's see here. There's a tornado warning way down south of Fort Smith. I'm not sure if that's a new mesoscale discussion or not. Um, I'm going to check real quick here. I think it might be 1217. No, that's the old one. Okay. It is still kind of early in the day. We're not really at our maximum yet here, um, by any stretch of the imagination. Again, I said earlier, lines of storms um, can produce tornadoes, certainly can, but individual cells are a lot of times worse. But I wouldn't let your guard down on this. I still think that these lines of storms are going to get their act together here, especially as that low pressure center down in Oklahoma moves a little more. Um, I don't think it's going to deepen a whole lot. It doesn't have time simply because the shortwave is very compact and moving very quickly. But let's see here. I want to look at just plain old surface map. Showing that convergence along the line. Typical. Okay. A lot of times, sitting here is probably the hardest thing to do, but sometimes that's just what needs to be done. There really isn't anything else to do. But I've done many chases too where I leave too late and I just I'm behind the eight ball almost the entire time. I don't like those. At least with this one, I feel like I'm kind of ahead of the game a little bit. The winds have increased. Like I said, I was just outside flying that drone substantially, so that's a factor too. Like it's blowing my car here, rocking my car. It takes a lot to rock a Honda Pilot. Okay, let me look at this radar one more time here. Again, the largest cloud storm top on this is still the one immediately to my west. But what I don't see is any sign of real rotation in this at all. I'm going to switch to that parameter here. The end rotation is kind of a shortcut. And what I have been seeing is a lot of little mini rotation along the forward part of the line, which is completely normal. But nothing terribly focused. Maybe one little rotation nodule there just off to the northwest of Galena, the Kansas Galena, which is just west of Joplin. Let's see here. I'll look at the actual rotation here. Yeah, I don't really see anything. See how fast those clouds are moving? Oh my gosh. I'd say the wind gusts here are probably 30, 35 miles an hour. Yeah, so the low level wind field is okay. I think this is just a matter of waiting now. So, if you're looking at local radar, these storms have just barely now, barely, they're just touching the border of Missouri and Arkansas. Although there are a few renegade cells in northwest Arkansas. So if you're trying to gauge, by the way, everything's about on time. That tornado warning is still going just across the interstate on 70 east of Columbia, Missouri. Huh, interesting. Yeah, it's a line of storms. What we're seeing that can develop, and I think it still will develop, are individual cells. Tornado warning on the storm just off to my west. Just issued a tornado warning. And that should show up here. So then the big question is going to be, what do I do about it? Let's see, you can hear the sirens here in Joplin. So that's that cell I was just talking about by Galena. So they're moving north northeast. So I think I can probably. So one thing that you need to be always aware of when you're thinking about maneuvering in these situations is cities. You know, I don't like driving in cities to storm days. And mostly because I feel trapped. Um, and you could be trapped for a number of different reasons. You could be trapped because of people who just don't know what's going on and are driving slowly. You could be trapped because somebody gets in an accident. You could be trapped, uh, people going real slow. You can have all the meteorological knowledge in the world, but you can't do anything about that. So, anyway, if you're just joining the chase, this is the first tornado warning of the day. It is issued for maybe the northern portion of the city of Joplin, but certainly it's been issued for um, cities just north of there. Webb City is more deeply in it. Alba is in it. Auberry, Galena is where the storm is actually located. Some rotation there. My position is Rangeline Road, just south of I-44. So my thing is going to be, can I safely traverse Rangeline Road northward? Um, See, on Sunday afternoon, traffic probably not horrible. I'll open the window again. You can hear the tornado warning sirens. Barely. They're probably on rotation, so wait for it to come around. There you go. So to answer that question, I think it is probably safe to go up Rangeline Road. I know Joplin. That's another thing if you're chasing, and that's another consideration about going into a city. Do you know the city? Because if you don't, you could be in a lot of trouble. So we're going back up north now into Joplin. So I remember, of course, the Joplin tornado everybody knows about. That was on a Sunday. On that Friday, was it Saturday? Later in the week, I think it was Friday. Um, I led the Missouri State University storm chase class. And that was actually our second one. We had one a couple years prior to that. And we were going to go to Oklahoma to chase. And, you know, I had not visited Joplin, but on that particular day, we were with all the students. We had three vans, so we're like, you know what, we're just gonna, you know, we're gonna go into Joplin and see what it looks like, and it was scary. You know what they say about all big tornado occurrences is true. You know, you lose all of your common landmarks are gone. It's hard to navigate around things. Um, you know, it was just scary. And there was a thunderstorm going on while we were there. Um, actually, that particular piece of footage has been on YouTube for a while. And I forgot the name of the production company that did the Netflix special. Um, it's not coming to me. That aired on Netflix for Joplin weeks back. They actually contacted me and said, "Can we use some of your footage from what I'm describing?" We were driving, and they ended up not using it. At least I don't think they said they weren't going to use it. I've not scheduled time to watch that documentary yet, mostly because I just need to be mentally prepared for it. I mean, it's not, it's horrible. And so, yeah. Anyway, so maybe they did use it, but they sent me some money for it. For something I shot how many years ago now. Okay, well, you know, I'm seeing some definition over there. This is the part where you're probably going to say, hey, turn the dash cam, and I will. But I am driving. So if you're just joining the stream, this is the first tornado warning of the day. There probably will be more. I may not be on all of them. I'm certainly not going to be on all of them. We're north on Rangeline Road, and in a minute here, I am going to find a place that has a clear shot west and northwest, and see if I can see some structure here. I would fly the drone again, except it's awfully windy, and I'm so inexperienced that I'm afraid that it's gonna blow my drone on top of the building when I'm not gonna be able to land it, and I don't know the controls well enough to fix it. I just got it, so yeah, Rangeline Road. Um, we can turn. If I were to get a red light here, I could turn this camera. Yes, I know some chasers would just go ahead and grab it, and I'm not above that, believe me. But I've got cars around me, so not not in any critical danger of missing anything right this second. So again, poor contrast. I have a feeling that there's probably some great structure over there, but the contrast, because there are rain and thunderstorms behind it, just rain behind it, is horrible. So um, you're just not going to see anything. So my position is I haven't even entered the actual official tornado warning box yet. So it's a good position to be in. I feel like I have escape routes south and certain east. All right, so now we can turn the wipers on. We can adjust this view like that. There we go. Basically, the camera's now looking northwest, which is where the warning is basically centered. Another reason I want to get out of here too is I'm about to get overrun by the squall line, and I try not to do that if possible. So when you're storm chasing, and I'm sure many of you have taken some time to watch other storm chasers. You know, one of the things that they talk about a lot is power flashes. You know, indicating that something is going on. So even in contrast situations like this, it is possible for me to see that something's going on by seeing power flashes. So the squall line's approaching me now. I don't really think I'm going to see anything. Looking at this, and I think I'm going to turn around because I just don't think we're going to see much. If there were anything to see, it would be where the camera's pointed, basically. But with the rain falling in front of me now, that makes it even worse. So you're just not going to get any definition of this light. This intersection is where I remember on that Joplin when we were driving down Rangeline Road. I remember there were emergency areas set up here for water and food, and the thunderstorm was going on, and the rain was flooding the streets, and it was bad. So yeah, I'm looking out the window. I'm just trying to look and see if there's anything there. There's just no way that we're gonna see it. Again, if I had an armored vehicle, would I drive into that? Yeah, sure. But, I mean, I think I see a lowering over there. Um, Basically right over the Ashley Furniture. If you're looking on the camera, Ashley, no, not quite, right centered over the Ashley Furniture home store. There might be a lowering right there. There also might be one to the right of that. It's awfully hard to see. Roll up my window. Now it's going to look the wrong direction. This place is camera out. So basically, up in that area there is where there might be something, according to radar and just using my eyes. Another thing I don't like about squall line situations, though, is that you never know. All thunderstorms can't have a certain level of unpredictability to them, obviously. But, you know, with the squall line situations, there can be spin ups along the line that happen pretty quick, so I don't necessarily like driving along them. So that's why I want to get back to a east escape here. Out. Stream is still working. Warning is still in effect. They readjusted it a little bit. I'm actually quite a bit south of the actual warning outline area. But again, because you have a squall line situation, other things could happen. I'm interested, by the way, down in just approaching now the southwest corner of Missouri, right around Knoll. Looks to me like something might be trying to develop there. So probably my original idea is pretty good. I'm going to go back down to 44 and head to 49 and then go south. Actually, the more I think about it, I think that instead of going all the way down to 44 right away, I think I'm going to head east a little bit, just in case there is something we're seeing up to the north. But I have a feeling the visibility on that particular tornado, they're going to be short-lived and poor contrast. Some of you might say, well, why are you driving away from a tornado warning? 50-50. Some of you are going, thank God you're driving away from the tornado warning. And then the other people are probably saying, what are you doing? Why are you driving away from it? And I do this a lot. I reposition myself. I've just learned that any storm worth watching is probably going to persist long enough for you to make the changes necessary. Go ahead and turn right in front of me, sir. I also when I stream, I have to be careful because if I'm just in a car by myself, there are many occasions where I may just uh, use colorful language. Is that a good way to put it? Is this a street? Yeah, it's to describe the habits of drivers. So yeah, I have to remember not to do that. Although some people say, "Hey, don't worry about it. It's part of the entertainment of me watching you on a stream." We're gonna head east of 20th here, and that way I have my passenger. I mean, I have my driver. There's something to see. It's easier for me to do so. So again, I'm looking to my left, due north of the tornado. You know, one of the things that is interesting about storm chasing too is that, you know, back in the day before cell phones were everywhere, storm chasing actually was like the way you were going to see tornadoes. You know, and the effort that a storm chaser put into that, uh, you were a pretty unique crowd. You put the effort in, and you were probably one of only a handful of people that actually saw that tornado and got good footage. Nowadays, though, you better have another reason other than just wanting to get video of it, because everybody and his brother has the device necessary to record it, and they're all there. I mean, so chances of a tornado being missed very low. You know, it's likely gonna be recorded by somebody, unless again it's like one of these where I don't think it's gonna be on the ground very long. And it's not terribly. I'm looking at it. I don't see a lot of structure. Uh, I'm gonna make some tracks on I-44 east. Now I'm going south to avoid being overtaken by the squad line. It's not working. Also, I don't know if I was telling you this earlier. Starlink does have its limitations, and if it's raining too heavy, it will attenuate my signal, which is too bad. Air driving away from that tornado warning. That is a very typical type of tornado warning in this situation is where the squall line surges, bulges ahead, and you get rotation vortices on that. That's what that tornado warning is. So that was kind of hard to, geez, I mean, really honestly, it's really hard to get that one right. This is really where I want to be. I should have waited. Yeah, it knows I'm here. Some tracks easier here. Joining us, there is a tornado warning well north of Joplin, blowing part of the line segment is causing some rotational signatures right around Alba. On I-44, making some tracks eastward to get myself out of this squall line, and also I'm looking at some activity down there in McDonald County. No, actually, it's north of McDonald County. It's Newton County. might be interested in. But I see they're moving northeast. I need to make some tracks easier. The path of it. Unless you don't like driving in the rain. Can't stand it. Again, kind of ironic I'm a storm chaser. What do you mean you don't like driving in the rain? Well, I don't. Doesn't mean I'm not going to chase. I just don't like driving in the rain. So just by looking at the general setup here, they did extend that tornado warning, by the way, northeast. Actually, I think that's probably the cell. I could take 49 north. I just don't think that's a great idea. No, we're gonna make some tracks east. Realize my lights weren't back on. There are other roads that lead north. The other thing about interstates can be a trap too, because you just there's only predetermined exits, and that's it. So that's another thing about being on interstates. It makes me a little nervous when chasing. We're gonna get into the clear air a little bit here and see what some of the activities more south along the line is doing. Again, there's a tornado warning in effect, like right around. Can't really see it. I'm not going to try really hard to go right. So we're back on I-44 going east. Tornado warning is right up there, but too far away to see. You have to be on top of it. And even then, I'm not sure. I like to be in the clear when it comes to rain, thunderstorms, especially squall line events. I don't like to be constantly being rained on. And again, as from a chasing perspective, this is now a harder game. There may be individual cells in here, no doubt, that do produce tornadoes. Don't think that because it's a line of storm, it's any less potent in that regard. Um, I may try to catch up with that storm once we get out to maybe take a look at my Google Maps here. But yeah, maybe when we go, maybe we can take 37 north. That wouldn't be too bad. Just for some epoxy. And see, with the rain I'm hitting now, this is not even part of the main squall line. This is just the annoying showers out ahead of it. Annoying is the operative word there. Also, I was in a city before, and again, as I explained earlier, it's just not great. I'm not real fond of that idea. I had a severe wind gust with that warning just off to the west northwest of Webb City. If I can't make it out by just glancing, then I can't do it. Yeah, I want to get out of these showers here, and it's going to take a little bit because there's a lot of free shower activity ahead of this. Uh, you're wondering about this stream. This is basically something I threw together this year. The first storm chase I did was the night of the Bakersfield tornado. That was positioned about 5 miles southeast of that storm. I have a video on that if you'd like to see that. That was a horrible, horrible. I had no idea how bad it was. Because that's before I got Starlink and your satellite coverage is a little spotty, and not not satellite, but cell phone coverage is a little spotty. Radar doesn't work right, so I was playing it so safe, almost to the point where I didn't know. But what I didn't know, I wasn't able to look at like rotational parameters on the storm. There was just not enough bandwidth, to support that. So I was trying to get out of there, and I ended up trying to go. I think it was 17 north to West Plains, and there was a huge power line down. Little did I know the tornado had crossed there. It was on the ground that long. And then trying to go back out the way I came, and there were trees down the road. And I tried to go, I forgot the name of the road, but basically west toward Bakersfield. And it was horrible. I got a little bit into it. I saw one tree down, went around, and said, "Okay, no big deal." I had no idea that powerful tornado had gone through there, and I just had to turn around. People were in shock still, and I didn't think it was the proper time to whip out a video camera. I didn't belong there. I think that would have been disrespectful. I wasn't there to help, you know. So anyway, that was the first chase of the year. The second chase of the year, I was on a storm that produced a tornado, but there was this huge blob of rain and wind coming in on the back side of it, and I just wonder. Now I'm going to go north because I see some other structures, which I-49 north would be the pathway to that. I need to get clear of this a little bit more. Anyway, that was south of Poplar Bluff, and then there was 3 tornado warnings. I did try streaming that day. That's before I knew what I was doing. It was just awful. Just dropping frames left and right. Third chase I did to Oklahoma, the storms didn't pan out at all, and that one wasn't much better in terms of quality of streaming. And this is my third. Yeah, a little better. Pretty windy here. Semis are having some difficulties. I'm sure you're seeing. Yeah, there's some structures along the line I'm kind of interested in, but I can't really do much about it. Nor can I chase that one up to the north. It actually is moving too far away now. I could try. But a lot of times, a lot of times when you're chasing, you have to kind of figure out when to cut your losses. They say, I'll pinch the next bus. It's often especially in this situation where you have a line of storms and these spin-ups can occur anywhere. I was still hoping for some discrete supercells. I don't see any. So I think one of the things I might do is go to Sarcoxy. I know there's a Congo, and I forgot the new one now. Is it Loves? I think. I can stop at. Maybe regroup there. All right. Let's see. Actually, grab a stream here. Alright, there we are. We're going to get off here real quick. Alright, let's take off mic. Alright, sorry about that. East on 44. There we go. Okay, I still have rain showers coming up from the south on this line, so I still have, I got to at least get the Sarcoxy, if not a little bit beyond, in order to get a grip on this. That one north of Joplin is still the only tornado warning. But I think some of those cells that are coming up, that are going to be coming up through northwest Arkansas, look a little more discreet, at least from Springfield's perspective, they do. And the vectors on those would head toward Branson and a little bit west, so it might be my new game. I don't want to get too far from the line. Starlink is still working. It's 2:30 in the afternoon, and so you might be wondering, is it going to get worse? Well, typically it would, but it's only, this isn't a traditional time where the heating is being applied directly in front. It's being, the wind is kind of blowing in the instability. So if, I haven't looked at the satellite image for central Arkansas yet. I do see some individual cells in northern Arkansas, which I think are interesting. So when you're storm chasing, we, you're typically looking at an app at home, and you're likely looking at, a conglomeration or a composite of many different weather service radars together. I don't look at those. So Storm Chaser dial up different radars from different weather service offices. So Springfield is the one for us, obviously. Fort Smith has a radar. Tulsa has a radar. Kansas City has a radar. St. Louis has one. Paducah and Little Rock. Those are all the ones around us. So if you're storm chasing locally, some of the decisions you would make are, well, which one should I be looking at? Which ones make sense? And they all have different uh, characteristics. Like if you're looking at storm tops of the actual storm, see how deep they are, how effective they are. And it's too close to the radar is not even going to sample it. It's going to shoot underneath it. So you want to pick up the radar that's farther away, so you actually get the true top of the storm. Like that. The opposite is true for low-level rotation stuff. Now, if you're too far away, low-level rotation is not that. It's not low-level at all. It's several thousand feet above where you want to be looking for chromatic signatures. So, that's another big drawback. There are some data holes. And near the Ozarks, the largest radar data holes are sort of that area, southeast Missouri, kind of east west plains, that area that's poorly sampled by radars. Northeast Missouri, poorly sampled by radar. There's also kind of an area in southeast Kansas that's not great. Too far from Springfield, too far from. Well, forgot to mention Wichita. Too far from Tulsa, too far from Wichita, too far. That one's not too bad. Some of those others are pretty bad. Because of the Earth's curvature, radar beams essentially go in a straight line. So it makes sense that the greater the distance from the radar, the higher that beam is going to be with time. That's just really not going to sample the lower part of the storm, which is really what you want to see if you're looking for chromatic signatures. Solid line of storms now in southwest Missouri. We've been warning well north of a little bit northeast of Joplin. I chose not to chase that one. It's just that even though they probably did produce a week, I just didn't feel like that type of squall line situation was going to pan out well. There's decisions I made. We did try when it was in Joplin, but I can just tell by looking at it. The reason I don't like those is you have to get right on top of that. You can have a shot at seeing it, and I'm just really not that comfortable as a drum chaser doing that. If I have clear sight of everything, okay. If I've got rain developing around me, and the winds involved with the actual squall line, so that's a little bit softer. I'm not going to make headway to the east. Maybe even as far as Mount Vernon. Like I said a few minutes ago, if you're chasing storms, this situation is not ideal. This is a hard setup to chase. You have no discreteness inside at all. You have falling signals that are notoriously bad for seeing. Tornado watch in effect for all the area. By the time we stop in Mount Vernon, we'll call up some more SPC on the waves. We're gusting here over 30 non-thunderstorm numbers. The reason why tornado visibility would get me difficult today is that we really do have nearly saturated area. I mean, this cloud bases are very low. And if you just have a grove of trees, you're not going to see it. And it's very windy, ambient wind. So I have this probe, and I'm not saying I won't fly it again, but I had a little difficulty controlling it. So, I don't know that a newbie like me, I'm not sure I'll watch it again. And again, if you're just joining us, I had it set up at home and worked, where I was able to feed that drone directly into this OBS stream. But I got it out here. I'm on the Starlink network. That's the only difference. I was at home on my Wi-Fi in the house. Now I'm on Starlink, and everything I did before didn't work. Now I might have missed something. Maybe I forgot. That's a little too bad. This is what storm chasing is like a lot. You are sitting on your hiney long period of time, driving and driving and driving and driving and driving. A lot of times the way it works out is you're driving and driving and driving and driving and driving on board, and all of a sudden it all just breaks loose in a few hours. There's a tornado warning now in northwest Arkansas. That's part of that cluster I was worried about that's going to be moving up eventually towards southern Missouri. I'm going to try to get to Mount Vernon in here and regroup and see where I want to go next to that. Those storms are basically headed for the Branson area. They're not immediately there, but that's the general direction they're headed. When I stop, I'll zoom in on that. We're going to stop at Mount Vernon. It's probably about 10 more minutes away. A lot of pre-squall line showers. I expect it to be out of the rain by now, but I'm not. Another reason I'm not chasing that tornado warning storm more north along the line is I have a theory that, so I could have pursued that. But a lot of times I know that that's the northernmost storm that's going to do that. Nothing more than that is going to do that. So when you chase and chase and chase like that, you can chase yourself right out of the next opportunity. The whole theory about waiting for the next bus. The stream is coming up on 2 hours. I believe that's a new record. Drop frame rates are very high. Oh no, it's not. 25%. OBS will color code the font. Tell you if you got a good. That band in front of me, that's the kind of band we took to the MSU storm chases. So I'm just going to make an observation without swearing. I think that people who do this are crazy. Why would you hang around? Oh, he needs to use the exit. Well, hang sorry. It's like why would you hang around to the left of a semi without making a definitive pass? To me, just get away from semis as quickly. I think he needs to use an exit. Yeah. So, don't follow semis too closely, and don't hang around them when you pass them any longer than you have to. If I were you, I wouldn't pass them on the right either, especially on a windy day like today. A lot of distractions from the driver. I think it's okay to speed a little bit. People are coming around semi. I find it hard to believe. I mean, unless you're I find it hard to believe that any police officer would want to get away from a truck. Yeah, those tornado warnings down there, and I know it's south of Fayetteville. Joining us, Small Line has produced one tornado warning well north of dropping along I-49 now. I'd say it's probably pretty close to Nevada. Again, I'm just glancing at the radar while I'm driving. So except for that one isolated tornado earlier in the day up around Camden, hasn't been another one until this new one down here in northwest Arkansas. We're in a linear mode, the line up under the cars. These are still capable of producing tornadoes, so don't let that be a decision factor, deciding factor, because this new field or mindset mix like this can produce tornadoes very, very easily. I think I see a verified tornado in that one north of Joplin. I have to stop the field to check that out. A lot of free small line showers, barely out of these. Looks like the meat of the activity is shifting to these somewhat discrete supercells that are in northwest Arkansas. Um, and the line certainly is capable of producing that. When I was looking at the high resolution output, several runs of it for the last 4 years, um, there were three pockets that were identified as being tornado, where supercells were really strong and lasted a while. Northeast Missouri, I haven't looked up there yet. Some of that one that up there from our area, Camden, not aware that any of them up there. Then that one north of Joplin, although it didn't show it as a line, it showed it as an individual storm. And then this activity that's going to come up and affect south central Missouri in the next several hours, which is a tornado warning in northwest Arkansas. That's all. I don't think that's terribly discreet down there either, but I think it's a little bit closer to the instability. The atmosphere, the air feeding into it is probably a little more unstable. Flooded fields here along Spring River. I think they issued a new mesoscale discussion. Mesoscale discussions, by the way, are areas where the Storm Prediction Center, they're the ones that issue the watches. Local weather offices issue the warnings. A lot of times, mesoscale discussions are sort of insight into the brain of the forecasters. So they're issued before a watch is issued. Sometimes they have probability of watch issuance, and they'll explain in the mesoscale discussion, well, this is what's happening, this is why we think it's going to happen. Like with this morning's tornado watch, there was literally no time between the mesoscale discussion and the tornado watch. Like boom, boom. Other times they may issue a mesoscale discussion, it might be minutes or hours before the actual watch is issued. So I think there's a mesoscale discussion for from Springfield on south. But again, I'm just glancing at that to my right, so we'll get to Mount Vernon here. Stop the vehicle and take a look. And it's 2:52, so in a couple more minutes I'll get new data from the Mesoanalysis website. Should help. I would have followed that cell if it were more the top on infinite and remain discrete because it was one of my paths of interest. Like I was wanting to do that because it was ahead of the surface low, where the winds are going to be a little stronger flowing into it and more backed. Backed just means instead of south or more southeast. And so that all makes sense, and it probably has contributed to the potency of that particular storm. Again, not, in my view, very chastened. All right, we're coming up on Mount Vernon. Try to get you a view west. We'll do a radar review. See what's going on. So we're under a tornado watch, and unless I don't know what the new SPC visual convective outlook is, um, they probably updated that. Well, they usually do at 12:30 daylight. So I assume that got done. I'm not expecting it to change very much. About 30 minutes. You can definitely see the turn more to the north and northwest, and you see the darkness of the northern part of that line coming into view. Waving at someone getting off work appointments. You can see that. You can see that darkness. I just had to get a little bit away from this fault line. Warning sirens are going here. Figure out what that's all about. Oh, new tornado warning. Okay. Well, my instincts were right then. All right, we got a new tornado warning. We're in Mount Vernon, so what I'm going to need to do is show you the radar, show you what I'm not going to be able to show you a view of the sky proper here yet. So we have to think fast. All right, so we have a new tornado warning. My little pointy pen. Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay, so let's do some radar adjusting here. First of all, let's go and show you where that new tornado warning is right there. So Mount Vernon is just on the edge of it. So basically, the rotation with that is just off to the west of Wentworth. And it's going to be moving in the center of that polygon. So I'm on the edge of it in Mount Vernon. So if I were to go back down I-44, which as we've discussed, I'm not going to do because I don't like being on an interstate. What I think I might do is go north out of Mount Vernon toward Miller. I have an escape route on 96 if I need it. This does have a little rotational parameter connected to it. I'll zoom in on that real quick. Oops, or do that. Let's see. Wrong one. There we go. Hang on. There we go. I'm also going to grab a picture of that on my phone. Deeper into the Ozarks. Share that on Facebook. Okay. Yeah, we're going to go 37, or is it 37? No, it's 30, well, whichever one goes north. Let's try that. Well, I tell you what. Yeah, let me click on. Now, again, I'm playing it a little safe here by going north. You hear the sirens? In Mount Vernon. Okay, we're going to go 39. Or, there we go. Actually, this is the wrong 39. Sorry. This is legal. That's the business. Lovely downtown Mount Vernon. I really mean that. It's really cool downtown. There we go. That's the right one. So the goal here is to get a little bit ahead of this. Again, it kind of flies in the face. The only other option I would have had, I could have taken that road that kind of parallels 44. When you get off on to go to Erntenfest. God, if you're not from the Ozarks, you don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, yeah. But the idea that this train is going to be on the ground for long enough to see you do anything is the risk I'm taking with this. But this is how storm chasing goes. So, you had a plan. I was going to sit back and relax and show you some data, and all of a sudden you hear tornado warning sirens before you even see the warning on the radar. And you just instantly had to change your tune. My goal here, hopefully looking, so here's the problem with this plan, you are in the path of it. It's not necessarily a bad thing depending on your escape routes, terrain, your ability to see things, whether it's day or night. Night's a bad idea. I'm hoping to get on a vantage point here where I'm on a hill on my way north to Miller here, and that will allow me to see there. I was just wondering if maybe some of these would work, except there's a story. there that prevents me from getting to the back of that lot, so that's not going to work. If I remember correctly, though, in my travels, you know, this part of 39 is relatively clear. This is where I would have come out if I had taken the other business 39. Yeah, chasers need vantage points where they can see. I have a feeling, though, and I can just tell, there's a whole science to watching how polygons are issued for warnings. So when I see a polygon like that, if you can see that, where there's a lot of uncertainty because it goes from very narrow to very wide, and that just kind of tells me that they see something, but they're not entirely sure they can account for it completely. So I'm looking back here, and I can kind of see the southwestern sky, but not really. Actually, this isn't bad. This isn't bad at all, actually. Also, when you're storm chasing, a lot of times, I don't know what they're called exactly on the farm, but there's ditches, and then there's like little, they're not driveways because they dead end the fence. But there's usually a gate there, and it's usually the way they unload equipment or cattle or something. Yeah, except now we got to grow trees in our way. So this is the kind of stuff you do storm chasing all the time. All the time. I'm just on the edge of the tornado warning, so I feel like I've got time. So it's not raining here. That's a plus. At least not hard. I'll only launch the drone if I'm in a wide area. I don't have to climb a fence to go get it if I make a mistake. But this would be a good place to kind of try to use it. Again, I'm sorry you won't be able to see it. Maybe in the recap. I'm looking at the radar and I don't see a real obvious signature for rotation. That happens a lot in these squall lines. They come and go. Oh, I'm looking at it. Good. I don't know if you can see that on the road curves to the right. I see a real lack of trees and roads. It's like an increase in elevation, and I'm more than halfway to 96. So 96 is essentially the same thing as I-44. So escape route to the east, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so yeah, this is looking better here. I can just find, there's a hill up there, but there's also a house, so I never want to freak people out by parking in their space. Also, possibly a way to get shot. No, that's fine. But it's a good way to get questioned. Yeah, this is a high elevation here. Looking back that way. Not great. See more trees coming up there. I may have to wait till I get to 96, which I know I've been on 96 countless times. Uh, Relatively free of trees there. Showers coming up from the south again. Every once in a while, I glance to make sure my Starlink is still working. So I have a signal. Of course, the reason you do that is I am streaming, but even if I weren't streaming, if that were to collapse right now, I wouldn't stop chasing. It's mainly I just want to make sure that my radar channel is updated, and it will tell you actually. I would totally honest. My big question is going to be, do I jut off to the west a little bit? Towers, Miller. Certainly the strongest part of the storm is going to pass, it's going to cross Highway 96. As if I were to turn left and go west here, I'd be pointing right out where the strongest part of the storm, the hail is going to be. It doesn't necessarily mean you'll see anything, but I might be able to get a good vantage. Yeah, if I go to the top of that hill right there, might be able to get a good vantage point. And a wonderful escape route east. Oh yeah, the Hangar Cafe. Water and I went to eat there once. We were on a thing where we would find unusual places to eat. That was fun. Okay, so honestly, I could just pull off right here. Yeah, there's groves of trees up there. So I'm just kind of looking in the heart of the storm. Basically, it's dead ahead, the squall line. You can kind of see where it's darker. But again, are you going to see if there's a tornado embedded there? Are you going to see that? Absolutely not. This is not even possible. Uh, Continue what I was doing earlier, which is look at some of these here. So that tornado warning in northwest Arkansas expired, wasn't reissued. This one, there are just little rotational spikes right in front of me, basically. They'd be moving more north than at me. The whole line is advancing toward me. So, can't fly a drone, it's raining. And again, I don't want to be overtaken by a squall line, so we're not going to sit here very long. Feed here, see if you're seeing everything. Oh, I do that all the time. I minimize the radar. I don't mean to. If I minimize the radar, it doesn't show up. There you go. So if there were a tornado in there, and I am somewhat dubious of that, but maybe, um, it would be pretty much dead ahead. Basically, this is one of the situations where I see these minor areas of rotation on the leading edge of the squall line. And that's about it. So it's approaching me. Not the kind of situation I really want to sit in for very long. I probably have about 1 more minute, and I'm leaving. So if you haven't already figured this out, I do have a fairly rigid set of rules with regard to what I'll do and what I won't do, and I think it serves me well. I've seen tornadoes, but I'm a little picky. I've got to be in the right place and feel safe, and also not waste my time on something that I'm 100% sure I'm going to see safely. 100% sure I'm not going to see it. Yeah, the little circulations would be at the forward head of the line, so you can see what I'm looking at. So do you think we would see anything in that? Yeah, we'll hang around for another couple, maybe a minute or so. And again, you got to keep in mind too that radar is not always accurate. I mean, or it could be delayed. Use your senses. In fact, I'm seeing little squiggly things on the radar now that tell me I should probably head east now. Yes, I checked my news. Okay, so let's give ourselves a little more breathing room here. east on 96, advancing squall line, dark in the back mirror, horrible contrast. If there were a weak tornado in there, it wouldn't last very long. I doubt that you'd see it. But it's the best thing we have going right now, and it's not impossible, but it's hard to chase lines of storms. So get used to this. This is going to be common the rest of the day. So right around Springfield, this line's coming at you, so you know the drill. If you have a line of storms, those sometimes little hooks form along the leading edge of it that are very transient. Still produce a tornado. And there are these larger systems that are actually surges in the squall line that can produce rotation. So there's two sources of possible tornadoes with linear line of storms. Going east on 96. Check it out a little bit. There, right by Miller. I give myself another few minutes here. So, lag is pretty telling. Pretty windy. Southeast. So, this is again an example of tornado warning was allowed to expire. This is another example of, you don't. I was going to sit back at Mount Vernon and look at the meteorology, but the actual weather trumped it. So, I would like to get out of the rain showers personally, but that's going to be hard because there are a lot of pre-rain shower bands out ahead of this line. If I'm going to launch a drone and get an overhead shot, it's going to have to be not raining. It's going to have to be a large parking lot with no obstructions because I don't trust myself to get it back safely. I don't want to have to jump over a barbed wire fence to get my drone if a squall line's emerging. So again, I just got it. So, okay, play around. I wish I could show it to you, but you're just joining the feed. I had a connectivity solution at home, it all worked. I tested it. And when I got out in the field, the only variable that I'm aware of, same computer, same everything, is I changed from my home Wi-Fi network. Everything in this vehicle is Starlink. I don't know if there's something special about that. There should be. I don't think it matters. As long as all the devices are on the same uh, network, they have to be on the same network. We're not too far away from joining I-44. Now there's a hill coming up here, kind of like this. There's a road to a tower. Is that a cell phone tower? No, this is just a road. A lot of times when you're in rural areas, you're really not probably walk somebody. So, so we're looking kind of, yeah, just about southwest. Okay, so the squall line is right there. I can see the underbelly of it. There is some contrast there, not a lot. Um, but we can sit here because we got a little bit of time just to see how this develops. Looking on radar, nothing is currently being warned. It's just a big nasty squall line. Most of you don't realize too that position here because there's a big old clump of dirt and probably the only clump of trees on that side of the road. But as the squall line gets closer, that'll be fixed. Yeah, I can definitely see the leading edge, the bottom edge of the squall line. So what you're looking for here, if you have enough of a vantage point here to even see this, I think I'm going to move up just a little bit. This part here, go right along the here. You begin to see what I mean. That's so I can get clear of that building in those trees. There we go. Now, if the camera has enough contrast, you can probably see the lower that. So what I'm looking at is anything that looks like it's lower than it should be. Like the thing that catches my immediate attention when I turn the camera is right just about at that um, electrical pole, just to the right of it. That looks like a lowered area to me. See, it's possible in a situation like this that a tornado could spin up and it could do so almost in between radar scans. Quite seriously. All right, we are on Highway 96. Yes, I can get the stream video, by the way. I'm going to do this too. Looking at kind of a lowered area along the leading edge of a solid squall line. No warnings on this, just being cautious. I'm just saying to people on the stream that you probably see something. But in this situation, the tornadoes could be so quick, so transient, that you'd see it way before the radar scan even show it. Anyway, keep watching that. All right, I'm going to go back a little bit. If something were to develop along that little notch, they're really impatient or they're a chaser or they know something I don't know. I don't think. I think they're just. This isn't a bad idea because I'm fleeing the squall line. That would actually be the best thing to do. Fastest way to get out of it. What you don't want to do is go on an interstate toward a problem, in my view. I know what you're saying. You probably say, "There's storm cases do that all the time." I'm like, great, good for you. You know, I'm definitely after the easier chase. I mean, I will go out. It's heard what I thought was hail on the windshield. Interesting. Yeah, this is the main problem. I would normally pull off and look to my southwest, but I gotta get out of this little tree and hill thing happens right before it connects up to 44. But I know that there's two hills, big hills on I-44. And Halltown is like in between both of them. You travel I-44, you know what I'm talking about. So that would be relatively high and flat there. They redid that entire intersection too. Added a tunnel. Wow. Another little suspicious area along the squall line. Looks like it's in southern Berry County. I just need to get out of the rain here a little bit to a better do what I was going to do before the tornado warning interrupted me. Kind of look at the data, or at least expand my radar view to see what's going on. What I thought was a suspicious area ahead of the squall line, I think, is just a blob of showers, like so many of these that are forming all day. Just little patches of harmless rain. I think that's what that is. Although it's letting up a little bit. Right up to my south and west, it's still raining pretty good up there. We're about to get on I-44 here. And the reason in this situation why I don't like to be that close to the squall line is again for these little mini spin-ups that occur that you will not see unless you like ready to hit you. All right. We are. More speed, more visibility out of this. East on 44 by Halltown, current position squall line. Only about 15 minutes away or so from getting into Greene County. Not even 10 maybe. No warnings along it, no tornado warnings along it. You can count on the entire thing. Yeah, in fact, I'm looking at it now. The entire line is just severe dust warning. Par for the course. I will continue to chase this after it passes Springfield. There's some evidence that conditions would get better. My first instinct would be to drive down East 60 out of town. That would be a good move. But do I think that discrete supercells were formed? I don't know. That's part of what I'm going to try to determine. I might go down this. Well, I think I'm going to go down this next long hill. You can tell I've traveled I-44 a lot. Like when you get over this hump right here, on a clear day, you can see Hammond's Tower. And there's that gas station right there. I paid BP here. I wonder if I give myself enough room. Yeah, I think I have. Stop there. It's got a big parking lot. Maybe I'll launch a. I don't. I don't think there's going to be much to see, to be honest. Between the rain and possibly small hail behind that, leading edge. We should be able to go to that area and then park facing west. We'll figure it out. Stopped many times on my way west for cases. Yeah, unfortunately, all the advantages I would have of moving west were just destroyed by trees. Maybe if I could. Go. That's the advancing squall line. Eyes deceiving. There's a little green tint to that. There is. Anyway, let's make some adjustments to radar here. Um, there we go. Now you can see things better. I'm at Hoods, which is on 44. I think it's like right on the Greene County border, if I recall. And the line itself is looking thin, mini spin ups. Some have pointed out, and they'd be correct, that a lot of times these lines develop. This is a lower area right there. These lines, seemingly when they get over Highway 65, in that area, something about the topography and the wind helps to spin up tornado warnings, which is why people who live in, like, let's say Rogersville are like, what is going on? Not personal. I think there might be something to southerly winds passing through that corridor that heighten the rotation for storms, change the frictional value. Something happens to let that be more obvious. That's another chaser. See that guy's pointing at the storms? No normal person does that. But then you're laughing and telling jokes, and I wonder if there's a single person watching. Um, yeah, so again, when you look at a squall line like this, there's a lot of lookalikes. You know, you see lowered areas all the time. It's not necessarily anything you need to be worried about until it is. No tornado warning sirens. That's how I found out about it last time. It wasn't the actual polygon on my radar, it was the audio. Yeah, I'm looking at this, and sometimes these shower bands interact with the squall line in interesting ways. That guy could also be a spotter. So, in case you don't know, the difference, move on a little bit here. The difference between a chaser and a spotter is that a chaser will go anywhere that they need to go in order to see what they want to see. Spotters have a very specific task. They are sent to a specific location, usually some component of west town. There's another. There's people here that are just observing on purpose. It's overtaking me. Which, as you know, if you watch the whole thing, I don't like. A little more in control. Anyway, I was talking about squall lines that inevitably, they're straight lines. They somehow find a way to get that little spin up right around Greene County and Griffin County. And then by default, Webster. Uh, I don't know what it is. Back on 44, near Springfield, you got a squall line about 15 minutes away from the western part of town, anyway. All severe thunderstorm warned. There has been one tornado warning somewhat close that was just really just kind of south and west of Mount Vernon. Nothing became of that I'm aware of. Early on, there was a tornado warning northwest of Joppa. That may have produced a tornado. I'm not sure. I consider that to be unchaseable. You wouldn't see anything. So, if you're wondering if you're in the metropolitan area of Springfield, this is the line of concern. There's nothing else really going to form after this that you need to worry about. So, there might be some more rain tonight, but I'm looking on here. I don't see any tornado reports. I see wind reports all over the place. The strongest core along this entire line is southwest of Galena. There's some evidence of kind of a hooky thing southwest of Galena, but again, just because it looks that way on the reflectivity doesn't mean it isn't actually something. So, and I'm driving again, so I have the rotational parameter called up. As you can see, there's nothing obvious. There's a hail symbol down there. I think actually that's going to be, if that storm were to hold together, that's the strongest hail core along the entire line. If that storm were to hold together, it would indeed head up toward the heart of Christian County, maybe Ozark, Highlandville, Ozark would get the hail core probably, or maybe they might just pass a little west of them, and they would actually get the possible rotating part of the storm. Possible. It isn't right now. I'm trying to get my strategy. I mean, my thought right now would be continue on to 65 and go south. That seems to be the easiest thing to do. There's still rotation along this part of the line. It's surging, I guess you could say, and that's approaching Republic and not quite to Willard yet. Just under a half tank of gas. Oh, you see that? That's what it was. Wondering what I'm using. I have a Rode camera. It's actually meant to document activity around you. But and I would use it in the non-storm season for that capacity. It has a rear camera. It's not hooked up right now. I found out I can't stream. I can't flip from one to the other. That'd be handy. Because I got excited when I bought it. I thought maybe I could use the rear camera as this camera. But maybe I can. Maybe there's a way. I just don't know what it is. But in any event, you'd have to flip between them anyway. I don't think it outputs. Mine's looking pretty. Yeah, I'm interested in that storm right over Galena. There's a little hail core. Um, that's the one I'm going to try to hook up with. We're going to get on James River Freeway here. There was substantial rain. Back to Springtown. The line, I haven't actually looped it or anything, but I think it's moving a little faster now. Not surprising since the upper level winds have increased in the last several hours as that speed maximum circles around. The logical question you might ask at this point is, okay, there was really high tornado probability today, and so far it doesn't look like it's doing anything. Does that mean that we're done? No, it does not. As I just mentioned, there are subtle changes in the atmosphere that go on beyond your sight. So if I tell you the upper level winds are increasing, there's no way you would know that unless I knew it was happening based on model inference and watching it for days. I think this is a good time to get gas. Oh, it's just that exit. There's none. I mean, very gusty here. Not drone friendly. We're not inexperienced operator. Line is definitely advancing faster. I'm just wondering if I have time to get some gas. And I have to think seriously about whether I want to cut down 65 south, because that would basically take me right through this wall. Instead of going through it at a 90-degree angle, I can go straight, right down its length, and then that would be. It might be just a good idea to try to just keep going 60 east, get some space between me and this thing, maybe get some gas in the Rogers. If you're joining the stream, the day started with me going out as far as Miami, Oklahoma, watching developing cells, trying to figure out which ones were going to go. It became clear early on that this was going to be more of a linear storm mode. So in other words, a line of storms with little bulges and occasional curves along such lines. You can get tornado spin-ups. Not all of them do it, though. It just depends on the strength of the storm, the winds around it, how it's interacting with the environment. Like this swelling that's getting ready to move through Green Creek County, there's definitely a leading edge to it. Probably some pretty gusty winds out ahead of it. I'm trying to get more ahead of it so I can make a wider fan of decisions, if that makes any sense. So I'm probably going to go on 60. Anyway, so I finally came back into around Joplin. There's a tornado warning issue northwest of Joplin, one of those surging Boeing things, and I looked at it, and I just determined that the contrast would be horrible, and I had to drive to the city to see more. And it was also going to be the northernmost severe weather thing, and you're chasing that, you might have missed something more than the south, so I decided to leave that go. Then we were in Mount Vernon, and tornado warning sirens went out before I even saw the Polygon on the radar. That one was a transient thing again, very typical with these squalls. Getting this 3-lane thing done here. What day is it? It's Sunday, Easter Sunday. Yeah, the squall line's definitely picked up in speed because I'm going 60, and I'm having trouble keeping ahead of it. Because it's going faster and I want to give myself some thinking space, wider perspective on the entire line, I'm going to push on through. I don't want to punch south on 65, though I don't think that would be a good move logistically. Again, armored vehicle, sure. Pilot, nope. Would I do a armored vehicle? I certainly would. If I had one, or if I got it, if I did. Just shut the windshield wipers off the first time. Probably about an hour. Okay, so I'm getting ahead of the line now, and maybe I won't go as far as Rochdale. I might go to 125. Gas up there at the come and go. Make some decisions over that. This is an opportunity though where the dynamics of the situation have probably changed a little bit. Certainly, I know they're not discrete anymore. So one of my things to figure out is going to be: is there any chance for discrete cells between now and dark? Where will those be? As the dynamics of the situation change. It's almost 4 o'clock, so I have about almost 4 hours of chasing. Backdrop, backlighting. So as this line approaches Springfield, the city, it's already in western Greene County. There's some broad brush severe thunderstorm warning. I don't see any rotation symbols except for just the long one that is sometimes appeared along the leading edge of the small lines that's moving through the heart of western city of Springfield right now. It's not the same as an actual rotating. This is like it could be. It could morph to that. Watching. Raining again. It's this rain stuff when you're chasing storms. That doesn't seem right. I was telling you earlier, so I have my Rove camera on my dash cam, and I have a Logi, that 900 series. I forgot the name of it. That's this cam. Then I got a microphone with a windsock over it to try to get the road noise reduced on this instead of using the microphone in the Logi. Um, then I got a mount for my phone, which hangs off the rearview mirror, which is very convenient. Still have my old suction mount, which I have not energized here in a while. I'm surprised it hasn't fallen out. Then I have a convertible laptop that converts to a tablet. Then I have a tablet above that, several different radar setups where I can look at various things. My goal now is to get far enough ahead of the line so I can get some gas. I'll probably go to Highway 125. And then be on the lookout for what sometimes happens with squall lines as they hit like eastern Greene County, eastern Christian County, like around 65. Sometimes there might be something about the topography or something that the wind changes enough to get the spin ups out of these things. It's happened more times than I can remember in my tenure at Lower 10 and just watching things. Heck, it happened the other night. I just passed the path of that EF0 that started at Highland Springs. It's right back there. There's a tornado warning along the line in Arkansas. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I just wonder if that activity down more south might happen more than say or southeast. Might be a different ball game east of town. East of Spring Lake. Mine's actually breaking up a little bit. And there's a screwy little echo that, down there around south of Highlandville. Now the issue becomes whether it's chaseable. There are parts of the Ozarks where it's just like, nope. I had more drone experience. I could peek over the trees, but it's too windy. It's a combination of things that's probably not going to happen. And you wouldn't be able to see it if you're just joining it. Because I had a connection to an OBS streaming service at home, and now it's dig deeper. Yeah, we're going to get off right here at this 125. Go. Yeah, the line's kind of breaking up. It's good. Add some gas in a way that doesn't block